For this demonstration, I will impersonate Troy Mortem, who is a system engineer responsible for maintenance and support for all OT devices of multiple sites. When Troy Mortem connects to the ServiceNow instance, he automatically goes to the industrial workspace. Then he will come to his home page where he's got the list of all the important actions and priority items that he should manage. So for him, it's easy to know the work that he should do today because it has been directly assigned to him and it is visible here. But he can also have the visibility on all his group work or his site work and see all the incidents currently on the site or change requests that he can take over if he wants to. Also, Troy got the visibility on the health of the CMDB. Why is that? Simply to give him an overview of all the assets he is responsible for and if there is any problem on them, for example, if they are mapped to no site, if they've got no IP address and it's not normal, he will have the visibility to go to the list and correct the problem directly on the device record. For all of these items and also for the device list, Troy got access to a direct list of all devices, OT devices. He can also zoom only on some field devices or control system if he wants to, and for sure he can export this list to the format he wants or email it to him directly if he wants or to one of his colleagues. He's got the same kind of list for all incident, change, request, or even vulnerabilities or CVEs that are visible for his devices and his site. But what could be more interesting for him is the equipment model view for all his site. So this view is following the standard ISA 95, and it gives you access only to the information that you need, the information that you've got privilege to see. So for example, Troy here got visibility on Atlanta site, Japan site, and London site. But you can manage to define this visibility at any level, meaning it could be also saying that only you have access only to this line or this array of the data model. Robert, the head of the security, told him that there is a big risk for the manufacturing line 2 of Atlanta site, and especially on assembly line 2. So Troy is zooming on it in order to see what are the OT incidents, what are the devices that are attached to this assembly line, but he can also see what are the vulnerable items that are attached to it and the status of the different items. So you can see that many items are already under investigation. Some of them just wait for their implementation, meaning the patching probably of the system. But there is one that is open, and that's probably why the risk level is still high, because this item is not even evaluated yet. By the way, as soon as there is an incident, a problem, or like here, a vulnerability on this item, you can know exactly what are the impact on your production process. Why? Simply because we've got the business context attached to each item, meaning that for assembling line 2, we know that there is an upstream process, which is a forging line, and a downstream process that is a painting line. By the way, you can also see this in terms of graphic with the view process button. I will put it horizontal, and here you can see that there is forging line, then assembly line 2, then painting line, and there is even a packaging line at the end of the model. So this is your production process and the dependencies between each step of your production process. Meaning that if I got the full map that represent both the production process but also the devices with this red line, and if I put it horizontal also, I know that if this PLC is broken, or if there is a problem and a vulnerability on this PLC, it has an impact directly on assembly line, and it could create a bottleneck for forging line, or it could create less product for painting line too. I have exactly all my production chain and business impact here. Meaning that I know that, okay, for this vulnerability, maybe there is something I should do. So I will look at it and probably start the investigation on it. I can also, once looking at it, say that it is a false positive or request an exception for it, meaning that maybe we have a mitigation for this because we have a firewall. So this problem, in fact, is not a problem for us because it's linked to a network that is not accessible from the external world. And then I just put a date and request the exception. So this is a good way in order to request an exception and to track this in your system so that you're still auditable, you're still compliant, because you know exactly why you reduce your risk or why you put exception for this device. So for any vulnerability, I can see the device that is impacted, if it is a critical vulnerability, if there is any exploit on it. I can see also the remediation, if there is any existing remediation that is proposed by the vulnerability database. I'm able to see it also here. And I can see all the related assets and related tasks that I have already created in order to mitigate it. If I start investigation, I will be able to say, okay, if it is a problem or not, and probably also I will be able to select it so I can create a remediation task on it. As soon as I can create this task, I can add some work notes to say, for example, that you identify the problem. You can attach some pictures, PDF, guide, whatever you want. For example, here, as I identify the problem exactly, and I want to show where it is, so that if, for example, I have not enough time to finish the job, I can clearly assign the job to one of my colleagues, and he will have the full traceability of what has been done before and what is next to be done in order to repair the problem. So at the end, as a support engineer, that's how the industrial workspace can help you to show what are the important tasks that you should do, prioritize your work, have a full visibility of all the work in your factories, and be able to share information with your colleagues in a digital way. Thank you.